Hey guys, this is Willem from Cobus & Sons Classic Cars, and today we're doing the first episode of a full documentary that we're doing on the restoration of this factory maize Fairmont GT. We'll be showing you how to identify a genuine GT. We'll be showing you the process that we're going to follow to restore this car and what our plans is for future on it. We'll be talking about the obvious things that make a car a GT, but we'll also be showing you the small, not so obvious things that guys that do clones and rebodies tend to miss. So if we have a look around the front of this car, so very simple couple of things to identify. The first thing, the front bumper on the car is off a Fairlane. The South African Ford Fairlanes, they had the lights installed in the bumper, but it could be that the bumper has been changed through the car's life. Then we have a look at the driving lights. So the driving lights from factory only were fitted on Fairmont GTs or Falcon GTs. So when we have a look at this, we'll be having a look at their brackets, whether they are factory brackets or aftermarket brackets. They are available new, so it is a replaceable possibility. But when we have a look at the state and age of this car and the state and age of those brackets, it might be able to tell us a bit about the originality. So when we start to have a look, I just want to rip out all this horrible wiring. The previous owner of this car thought it well to put a lot of unnecessary wiring in the car. So when we have a look at this bracket, pretty sure that is identifiable as a factory bracket. You can see it's been on the car quite a long time. So the next thing that we have a look at the front around the car is this bracket here. This is a reinforcement bracket that is basically to support the radiator, since the radiator cannot by itself be mounted onto the cradle. So Ford had these installed from factory, and they were only fitted to GT cars. So the next thing that we have a look at is, if you take a close look, I want to try and see if I can zoom in the camera a little bit. There is a reinforcement plate right behind the radiator cradle, wedged basically between the radiator and the cradle. Now that bracket was spot welded onto the cradle by Ford, and they were only fitted on GT versions of this car. Something else that we always have a look at, this one has been butchered in its life, but you can see the leftovers of how the cradle used to be cut. So on a 6-cylinder car, the hole for the radiator to allow airflow is a lot smaller than what it is on a GT. I don't have the exact dimensions on me, but I'll post them a little bit later on. So then the next thing that we have a look at, radiator itself. This radiator is off a genuine GT car. The 6-cylinder version has a lot smaller radiator. So this was to help with the cooling on the bigger V8 motor. So then we have a look at the battery box. So the battery box on a genuine GT car sits sideways fitted. Now once again, this one has been butchered in its life. It's actually supposed to have a top plate sitting right over here. So bearing in mind that we don't have that, but we can still identify that the bottom bracket is still that of one being fitted sideways. On a 6-cylinder car, the bracket sits this way, fitted onto the car, because they had a lot more space to work with. So then we have a look at smaller, less important things, also changeable, but nonetheless it's something to look at. The accelerator link on a V8 car sits right on the left hand side of the engine, where your 6-cylinder one sits on the other side, and it's a lot shorter version of this. Now if you look at that bracket, I just want to see if I can point it out, that bracket over there, that's unique to GT cars as well. After this, I'll post another video on a 6-cylinder and I'll show you the comparisons from there. Now what do we have a look at on this car? Most important, it's got the 4V heads on it. It's got the correct 4-barrel intake manifold on it. That is for a 4V. but we can see here that this is a square block subassembly. Now, originally from factory, this would have had like a D shape identifiable as a D block 351 Cleveland. This is a square block, so we know that the block has been changed on this car. Could be various reasons. It's a 50-year-old car. Could be that the engine seized up. We never know what the history of the car is. So, but for us to bear it in mind, something always to look for. So then we have a look. We've got the original radiator cowling. They were only fitted on GTs as well. Also unique to GT cars, and a very important thing to have to keep this car cool. Then we're going to have a look. Now, I already know that this is a maize car off the floor plate, but it's always nice to have a look when you see original paint being exposed in the engine bay as well. Now, on the original GTs, this whole inner panel here would have been body color. Same with the inner tray here. And your cradle on the outside, that section would have been black, where your grille would have been silver, and this plate would have been body color. So then we're going to take a walk to the inside of the car, and we're going to have a look at some important things over here. So the first identifiable thing that we look at is the floor tag. So you'll see on this floor tag it reads maize, so that your outer body color /black would have had black interior. So I know by that then that the brown interior or saddle color interior handles are incorrect for this car. Then we have a look back at it. You'll see it says F.Mont, fairmont. It says GT, which identifies it then as a genuine GT car. Power steering, and it says in between F/S, that stands for floor shift, and then the all-important 6-digit serial number. So now that we know that this tag says floor shift, but we have a manual automatic shifter, I need to have a look underneath here. Once again, hey, look at all that brilliant wiring. This guy should get a medal that owned this car. So this is the narrow brake pedal that only came fitted on the manual cars. So the obvious thing would have been that they would have dumped the clutch pedal off this. It's a pretty easy thing to do. Incorrect though, but pretty easy thing to do. Then once again, the accelerator on a GT, it's got a bolt. I just want to see if I can swing the camera in there. So you see that bolt right over there on the top of the link. So that bolt is there to basically help link all this together. It's too long a shaft to fit through as a single piece like on the 6 cylinders. So on the GT, they had a bolt that held this all together. So some nice checkered plate for the rust holes. But nonetheless, we'll be cutting that out and replacing it with some new ones. Couple of small things here around the dash. So driving light switch, although it's the incorrect switch, that little pilot hole there is a very, very important hole, because it only worked for the drive or for the bezel for the driving light switch. So I know that little hole there makes a big difference, as it's incorrect. Then we have a look at, once again, original body paint sticking out beneath the pink. Once again, the maize shining through. And then we're going to have a look around the tunnel. A couple of identifiable things here. So a 6-cylinder car never had this little shifter house, as we call it here. So it basically, this was a support for the shifting mechanism. A Fairmont's shifting mechanism is mounted to the body, whereas something like a Mustang of the same era was mounted directly to the gearbox. Now, all GTs had bucket seats in the front, so they all have to have this reinforcement bracket. I have seen these on 6-cylinder cars as well. They were factory bucket seats, so it's not unique to GT, but nonetheless all GTs need to have it. So then we have a look at this little bracket here. So this is unique to GT as well. That bracket was there for the console. It's basically just a locator for the console, just to help the tail of the console not swerve to the left or the right. They never fastened any screws through it, even though we do it today, just to help pin it down, but from factory there were no screws to it. Now the 6-cylinder has a similar looking bracket, but it's got mounting place for 2 bolts that held together the center cushioning between the 2 bucket seats, if it was a bucket seat car. So that bracket sat around here. I did the measurements before and the calculations before. It sat around here. There's no identifiable things here to say that it had that bracket. So we are fully convinced that this is a genuine GT floor. So then we're going to have a look at the dash itself. I just want to pop up quick. Then we have a look at our gauges. So GTs, if it's a XY, your speedometer ran to 240 kilometers per hour. If it's a XW, it read 140 miles per hour. If we have a look at our ref counter over here, they were unique to GTs, where your 6-cylinder had a dial that showed 3 different things here. Ref counter unique to GT, and then GT also unique to it, the 3 small gauges. Dash clock also unique to GT. Now there is some AC bits bolted onto this car, like the kick panels and the dash unit. They are incorrect though. There's no evidence of being a genuine AC car. Doesn't have the correct AC switch that would have been there, and neither, just want to pop around the front quickly as well, and I'll show you. So if you have a look here where your heater hoses go, a AC car would have had 4 of those pipes sticking out to accommodate the flow in the AC. Then we pop around the other side. Now Australian Falcons GTs all had wood grain dashes. So our 6-cylinder cars has the wood grain inserts here, where in South Africa the genuine GTs have a smoothed out dash. I could have a look at this. There's no evidence of welding. A lot of times I even crawl in up behind the dash and have a look if there's any evidence of welding, because a lot of guys shut those holes and then claim it's a genuine GT where it still isn't. Then we're going to pop around to the back of the car, or the back inside of the car. Then we have a look at these. Once again, great special on some Builders Warehouse lights. Incorrect though. So we have a look at these brackets over here. So these are your cabin light brackets. These are unique to GT as well. They never came out on 6-cylinder cars. So something else, there's no evidence that that's ever been tampered with or changed. That ugly welding over there is factory. So they weren't exactly spot welded in. They were kind of just tagged and left where they are, and I've actually seen some where they just drove screws through them. So that is an option as well, or an alternative to just the welds. Now we have a look here. Sunroof, and it seems to be a factory one. Couple of things that makes us think that it is possibly a factory one. Factory took this little piece of bracket over here. Once again, some great special LED lights. If you want some, just send me your address, I'll gladly post them to you. And then we have a look at how it's cut on the top. Very clean cut. That's unique to factory as well. I'm not saying that these were definitely all horribly cut out of factory, but if I have a look at how well this thing is designed and how well the system is built, I think in Australia, if I'm not mistaken, they call it a windback sunroof. So I'm pretty sure that this is a windback sunroof, and the mechanism and everything seems to be factory. So just a very backward shot of the dashboard. So then we'll be having a look around the inside of the boot or the trunk. So something unique to GT is the breather pipe over there. They never came out. And then a couple of other things that we always have a look at. Once again, brilliant wiring. It's going to be fun to sort out this loom. If we crawl around the bottom of the car, all important 9-inch diff. Now they were unique to GTs as well. In an automatic they were 275s, in a manual they were 3.0. And then something else that's missing off this car, on a genuine GT car, the boot strip over here would have said Falcon or Fairmont. Factory original louver. They were actually sold from Ford, even though produced by a external company. Something we just want to have a quick look at while we're over here. Some great pop riveted panels with some fiberglass over it that will all have to be cut out and repaired. So when we have a look at the car, there's quite a bit of stone chip, filler, fiberglass, everything that we can see sticking out. If we look closely here, you can see the actual strands of the fiberglass. So we've got the suspicion that the body underneath has got quite a bit of rust that we'll have to cut out piece by piece and replace. We'll be documenting that piece by piece as we go. So while we're around the back here, just gotta flop down and have a zoom in on this. So genuine GT has twin tailpipes. So here's number one, with the original mounting bracket, and then we've got to go over to the other side. Just want to see, there we go. So there's the other mounting bracket where 6 cylinders only had brackets on the one side. So something else that helps to identify this body as a genuine GT car. Bumper overriders, they also only came out on the fair lanes in South Africa, but very popular in Australia. So a lot of guys in South Africa, I've seen them fit them on their cars afterwards. Something that I forgot about, that I wanted to mention. Remember that sunroof we had underneath the car? So on the top of the car, all they've done is just completely puttied over it. So we'll have to unearth all that. They just basically shut it with putty and decided it's a good idea to rubberize over it. So we'll have to get all that off as well. Something around the front that I wanted to mention. So here we can see the original holes for the hood pins. Now the ones that work on these are more the XW style ones, where the XYs had the bigger holes with the bigger hood pin brackets holding them down. Somebody's thought it well as well to cover these up and pop rivet some plates over it. And so yeah, rough car, but genuine nonetheless. Something else that we always have a look at, bonnet brackets. So where a 6-cylinder, this bracket continues on and that one continues on. Small little stiffener bracket over here, and then obvious things the shaker itself sticking out over the bonnet. Now we normally also have a look at this, just the trim around the side. The ones that we've seen guys try and do aftermarket are a lot rougher than what the factory cut is. So very nice smooth cut. There's no evidence it's been done afterwards with a grinder. Once again, it is all changeable. Then we have a look at the gas cap, trim ring. Also unique to GT, the 6-cylinder cars only had a small gas cap that tightened up here, but these are unique to GT. So when we have a look at the overall of this car, I think there's enough evidence around the tunnel, the floor pans, the originality of the floor tag on the car, plus all the yellow paint sticking out everywhere, to say that we're comfortable to say that it is a genuine GT car that's just been through a very, very rough life. So the first thing that we are planning on doing with this car is tearing the entire car down, getting all the parts unbolted off the car, and then we'll get it off either to the blasters just to get off all the rubberizing and the stone chip and putty fiberglass. We'll probably get a good couple of heart attacks when the car comes back about the amount of rust that it has. But the great bit about all these cars is all the panels are available reproduction. Rocker panels, your rear quarter panels, they are all available. So we'll be having a look at purchasing some of those to repair this on the panels that we can't fabricate. And then from there, our next episode will be the tearing down of the car, and we'll do a slow bit by bit talk through of exactly what we are stripping out and what is correct and what's not correct. And then we'll be starting a hunt for the correct parts, for the ones that's incorrect. And then great, we'll see you for the next episode. Thanks.